that is the commissioner of the NFL, stating the newest Buccaneer draft pick, Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, the wide receiver, adding to this fantastic wide receiver room for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's talk about him a little bit. So, Egbuka, obviously, as I just said, is from Ohio State. Played a fantastic career there. He leads all time in receptions from Ohio State. And a statement from Jason Light, and I heard it via 95.3 WDAE, 620 on AM radio. And it was T-Crass that said it, that there are three things that you need in a Buccaneer. They have to have character, they have to have production in college, and most importantly, Buccaneers have that character outside of the game. So primarily for this Buccaneers team, we're seeing Emeka Egbuka, obviously a guy who donates money and stuff, but a guy who had a lot of production in college against Indiana last year, fantastic games. But what we really see out of him is just a consistent receiver, and it's something that we were missing when we had both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans out last year. He's 6'1", 205 pounds, he's 22, but he's been talked about as an NFL prospect, obviously for the last 3 years. Very high floor, and he's a borderline wide receiver 1 or 2. So a great prospect from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but obviously the logo of this isn't Emeka Egbuka. It isn't a first-round player. It's 3 guys who are available, and I'll name them right now. Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State. It's Carson Schwessinger, and it's the fantastic Donovan Izaraku, all of which fell out of the first round. The Buccaneers passed on Jihad Campbell and Jalen Walker in the first round, so we're likely going to see a defender get drafted. Something that Tyler Vassallo was saying about Emeka Egbuka also is that he potentially is the offensive rookie of the year next year. From a Tampa Bay Buccaneers perspective, we likely won't see him for a couple. We likely won't see Chris Godwin for the start of the season because of his injury last year. So Egbuka taking on his large role to start this season would be a major switch up for us. But what I was talking about is Schwessinger, obviously a great prospect out of UCLA. And what I like about him is his tenacity when he plays. Something that you don't see out of a linebacker who's going to get drafted in the second round, kind of like Peyton Wilson. And I know I talk about Peyton Wilson a lot, but something that you're not going to see out of him or even Demetrius Knight is the maturity that they play with and the speed that they play with. Schwessinger comes out of college, obviously playing in a 4-3 at UCLA. 12 games, not exactly what we're looking for, but he had 7, tied for 7th in coverage stops, and he had 2 picks last year. I mean, from a linebacker standpoint, of a guy who rushes, he had 62 pass rush and 267 rush defense snaps. So he's looking at a large portion if he becomes a Buccaneer. At 100 tackles last year, and 33 of them were assisted. Only 33 assisted tackles. He had 11 missed, but that percentage is a very, very important stat to look at from the Buccaneers' perspective. One more guy to look at. Obviously, I have a couple to talk about. But another edge rusher linebacker guy that I want to talk about is Donovan Izaraku. He was mocked a lot in the first round. He fell out of it. And Izaraku is a very good edge rusher. Not a power edge rusher, but something we see in this draft class a lot is quickness and smoothness that we're seeing out of edge rushers. We saw James Pierce fall to the Bucs. We saw a lot of players were available for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But just an interesting state of mind for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have 2 picks today at 7 o'clock tonight. A guy that I like a lot in this draft, and it goes to show what he was able to do in a threatening defense that did not have an offense to go along with it is Azareye'h Thomas, who, although he didn't show everything that he wanted to, it's surprising to see him. If he is available for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's likely the guy that we're going to want to see get drafted. That being said, Mike Green is still on the clock. And I think that is a very important thing to state, that he was ranked 10 on PFF, and he fell out of the first round. And another guy who fell out of the first round, which I did take him in our mock draft, at pick 2 for the New York Giants, and that was purely off peer pressure. I would have totally taken Abdul Carter there at pick 3 if I knew all this stuff. But the major thing to think about with Mike Green and Shedeur Sanders is that Shedeur Sanders has not all of the on-field production that we want. He had Travis Hunter, who is very much the consensus number 1 prospect in this draft, if it's not for Abdul Carter and the amazing Ashton Jeanty. But Shedeur Sanders was not going to be a first rounder this year. There's not a lot of ask for him, and the Giants were not looking to take a quarterback at that pick. Abdul Carter is a generational talent. I know we throw that term around a lot, but Abdul Carter is going to be one of the best edge rushers in the NFL for the next couple of years. So, with that being said, I want to talk about this Bucs defense that we're going to be heading in with. Currently, the front 4 look great. Diaby, Vita Vea, Kalijah Kancey, and, of course, the new guy who we just picked up, and it's Hassan Reddick. But this secondary, although we've got 2 stars, and Jamel Dean, technically still a star, don't get me arguing about that, and Antoine Winfield, we're looking at a good amount of talent, but that secondary looks sparse. And if Levante David retires after this year, the singular one, is really Dennis out in the middle, because the Dolphins guy that we picked up isn't going to be the future of this franchise. What they're going to need to do is draft one of these guys. We've got Schlesinger, as I said. We've got Donovan Knight. Interesting stuff. Go ahead and comment down below if you have any questions to ask me or anything else about this draft. I'm going to go on break for a second. I'll be right back. Hey, Trey?
Yeah?
I'm recording right now.
Okay.
Please get out of the kitchen.
All right.
Welcome back on the Dynamite Sports Podcast. This is Noah Vassallo back on a couple of guys that we need to talk about that could be available for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to pick. I was talking about Azareye'h Thomas, but I was on a different tab. So we're going to talk about Azareye'h Thomas real quick. A great corner out of Florida State, obviously. Again, if you have any questions, please comment down below. But Azareye'h Thomas, very quick-footed corner, and he has a lot of natural movement and playmaker instincts. He's got that NFL IQ that he needs to play in the secondary. But he has the potential, and put him across from Jamel Dean, he could play a significant role for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. his physicals don't show what his stats show, and his stats don't show what his physicals show. But he's a great prospect. A name just to think about. Kobe Bryant. Yes, there's a guy named Kobe Bryant. I think we all should know. But he's got the Mamba mentality because he was born with it, with that name. But he's a guy that I just want to look out for because you got that name and you got to have some potential there. You have to have that mentality. So just look out for that name to be drafted today, or even, well, if he's not drafted today, he'll get drafted tomorrow. And one more defensive back to talk about, other than the guy that we've been talking about all offseason, and Nick Emmanwori, is Darian Porter from the Ohio State Cyclones. Played a couple years there, but man, this year he really kicked it up. Not a great run defense grade, so not a great Buccaneer potential, but his coverage grades, his zone coverage grades, and his completion percentage are off the charts. He had his best game against Iowa, which is, yes, it's going to be his best game. It's their rivals. But he played his heart out this year, and he deserves to be a second-round pick. Ranked 64 on PFF. Could be a reach, but another great prospect that the Buccaneers should be looking at and other teams should be looking at in this next round. Will Johnson still on the board is a giant surprise to me and to many analysts out in the NFL. He started his collegiate career off being the 12th corner in PFF grade in 2022. This year he was 139th, but that still goes, he's still ranked 14th. So a lot of surprises in this first round. Obviously, we didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but we're still looking at some interesting ideals and values of these NFL teams that we just don't have any idea about. But it's a very interesting season. We're going to see a lot come out of these players. And, of course, for Bucs fans, we're looking for some defense right here. Raise the flags today and tomorrow, Bucs fans. Thank you for listening to me talk about the draft. We'll see you hopefully tomorrow talking about the draft again. Again, comment down below. I'll be here all day. This is Noah Vassallo signing off from the Dynamite Sports Podcast, streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and sometimes other places. This is the Dynamite Sports Podcast. We're also posted on Amazon. We're posted on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, or whatever. We're posted on Spotify. So go find us. Go find us on our Instagram, our Facebook, our TikTok. We're everywhere, man. So go find us. Thank you for listening. Share us with your friends. Send you out with a nice